Morning, everyone. It is Thursday, October 14th at about 10 to 10 here in Vancouver. And this is my third weblog in a series of weblogs designed to get my ideas out into the public domain. In the last weblog, I talked about the notion of a system, that we're kind of living in a world where we can think about everything systemically. I didn't go into any detail, and over the course of the next few weblogs, I want to kind of introduce two central themes that I think this brings to bear on. One is what's called project matching, or the ability to match projects, bring projects together, sort of create a Facebook type environment for a project so that people can align their missions. That'd be one. If you could do that, you could you could bring people together towards a better end. The other is that I think taking a systemic view of the world provides the opportunity to solve a very large problem, and that's what I'm going to focus on today, just sort of setting the table for that conversation. The very large problem is the absence of capital for early stage social venture projects. In other words, people that are looking for their first $10, $15, $20,000 to do something good for the world, maybe in their community, maybe build a community garden, or develop a job program for homeless people. I don't know. But whatever that project is, it's not going to be the next Google, right? It's not going to make millions of dollars. Now, this is and as a function of that's it's hard to get money. Now, so what I want to do is, I believe I have a interesting solution to this problem. The solution is called the Open Collab. It's an ecosystem pooled fund, and I can't explain it in short order right now. I'm going to explain it over a period of time. Today, I just want to set the table by defining the problem that I'm attempting to solve. Okay, so what is the problem, and why can't we get any money? People that are trying to do great things and to positively change the world. Well, you need to understand a little bit about theoretical finance to really get this, but I'm going to try to explain it to you as simply as possible. In the capital markets, or in the process of the deployment of capital to projects, there is what's called a funding cycle. So in other words, there is a first stage of finance. If you start a business, you get that first check. It might be 10,000, 20, 50,000. And then after you've gone for a little while and you get a second check. Then after you've gone maybe for a while longer, maybe a few years, you can get more money and so on. And then after a while, you build a big company like Walmart, at which point it's really easy to get money, right? So in other words, there's a spectrum. And the hardest point at which to get money is the very first check. Now, the reason that that's the case is that that's where the highest risk exists, right? So, and the reality is that for first stage, early stage ventures, 9 out of 10 of them fail, right? 9 out of 10 of them go to zero. So for that to make sense, for people to put money into those, that other 1 out of 10 has to go, go up like 100-fold, right? Because 9 out of 10 fail. That other one's got to do really well. It's got to make a lot of money to make up for the other 9 that go to zero. Now, the beauty of it is, in the traditional business world, in the universe of organizations trying to generate financial profit, 1 out of 10 does really well. So it works fine. So you have what are called venture capital or angel investors who deploy capital at the front end of the investment cycle, and they make good money because that 1 out of 10 does really well. Now, the problem in the social venture space is that that's not the case, because nobody's trying to make a lot of money. So you've got these guys who try to set up a job program for homeless people, and they're not going to make a bunch of money, but the project still has a lot of risk. So from a financier's standpoint, they got to put money into this thing. It's not going to make a bunch of money. They might lose money. They don't want to do it. So this is what's called a systemic problem, right? It's a problem within the whole structure of the capital markets. Now, if this problem is not solved, you're never going to get a bunch of money flowing to people that are trying to do things that are really good for the world, right? So we have to solve this problem. So how do you solve this problem? You can either do only one. There are three possibilities, right? One is you can try to increase the financial return. You can get these guys to make more money. The other is that you could reduce the risk, right? You can somehow make it so that these early stage projects are not as risky. The third thing is that you could just completely change the way people that give money, investors, change their, perception of their expectations, so they don't want as much money back, right? So what I'm working on, the pooled fund focuses on the risk mitigation, aims to reduce risk. And the reason is that I'm not interested in trying to get people that are trying to do good things in the world to make lots more money, because that's not the point. We're trying to save the world. So the ecosystem pooled fund introduces the notion of systemic financing. In other words, finance a bunch of projects together. So again, I'm going on too long. I was trying to keep this to 3 minutes. It's not going to happen because we're already at 6 minutes. I got 45 seconds. So in the old paradigm, like I talked about fragmentation of Western culture and all that stuff in the first two. Well, financiers only look at one thing at a time. Nobody's ever thought of looking at, a bunch of projects connected together and financing them all. Why not? The time is now. I believe if you do that, you can offset risk and you can deploy capital to groups of projects that are interconnected and interdependent. And if we can do that, we can solve a systemic problem in the capital markets, the result of which is that we can populate the world with projects that are trying to bring about the right sorts of positive change in the world. Now, what if I'm right? Right? What if I'm right? Now, if I'm wrong, then, you've wasted a little bit of time. If I'm right, the world's going to change for the better. So, I encourage you to take a look and tell me why I'm wrong. Nobody's ever actually told me why I'm wrong. Enough for now, because I'm at 7 minutes and 22 seconds. Talk to you tomorrow.